on my account, I couldn't get a single query through Fable. Like I
Yeah.
literally went in there and I typed like Apple and it was like, this has
Yeah.
been moved to Opus because you're
Mhm.
the second like it
That's
recalls a memory of me being a pen
yeah.
tester. It's like, never mind. Nope.
Yep.
Yep. Don't like
That's
you.
yeah. That's what we had for most of the week, and then we managed to figure something out, and but
Yeah,
the
I don't
whole
know
thing
if
is crazy.
yeah, I mean we'll probably talk about it on the show, but that like basically, find vulnerabilities in this code or fix this code that's now considered a
Yeah.
cyber weapon.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't say fix this code. That's a banned phrase.
Yeah.
That's like using export grade ciphers in North Korea.
Well,
That's funny.
Jason, you'd remember. You remember way back in the day, they put like the algorithm of AES on a T-shirt at Black Hat.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
I
remember.
still I have those files for being able to print that again.
I
Awesome.
had
Oh,
a
well, no, there's a new version now.
Yeah, there's a new
It's
version now.
Did you see Katie's website? It just says fix this code, and then on the back it says this is a cyber weapon.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a t-shirt design this year that's it's basically the front and back is the contents of the Rock You password list. And so like
Huh.
it's a real deep cut if you're like, anyone who's ever brute force stuff, but you'll recognize it if you see it. So yeah.
Nice. Well, we have Rock You 2024 now. Okay, that's probably
That's
too big
true.
for a t-shirt. It's too big for a
Yeah, yeah,
t-shirt.
yeah. Yeah. Jeez. Yeah.
Yeah, the new version of that shirt is so much more boring. It just is one prompt that says fix this code.
Yeah.
Oh God.
We actually have our main t-shirt design this year is instead of hack the planet, it says hack the planet, from hackers, and then it's over a globe, but then it has agent and graffiti across there. So for like AI hacking stuff. So it's a dope design.
like
Yeah.
Hack the planet, make no mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Produce a
Export to
markdown
JSON.
report.
Yeah, produce a markdown in JSON report.
Yeah.
No mistakes. Continue until completion.
And
No
when
prompts.
I think
Every
deeply.
skip
500
permissions.
to 750 characters, insert typo.
For AI avoidance. Yeah.
I like it.
I still, I still think it's funny. I mean, we're getting started here in a couple of minutes. I was listening to some podcasts on AI stuff this weekend while I was working. And there's this one that it's actually a pretty good podcast, but they bring on AI naysayers. And this one guy knew a lot about AI, but he's just like, AI is not actually good at anything. It makes you think it's good, but it's not good at anything. And I'm like, this guy really doesn't know what he's talking about at all. So it was,
Yeah.
Well, that is true if you've only used like crappy models. Like I have a Spark with Hermes agent running on it, and it doesn't know how to do anything. It's like, oh, let me fix this Python code. 70 turns later,
Crappy
I got
models
you,
and
bro.
crappy prompts.
Garbage.
Ah, that's it. That's it, right?
Well, you need one or the other. You either need a really
Yeah.
fancy model or a really fancy prompt.
I was
You know what? You
Here's
can give the finest tools to a monkey and it's still going to generate junk. I'm sorry. The million
That's true.
monkeys thing doesn't. But you give Leonardo da Vinci dirt, sticks, and egg whites, and you are going to get masterpieces.
Okay, I don't know though, because I went to his little museum in France and there's all kind of stuff we're not using. No one's using an Archimedes screw to pump water. Come on, we got septic systems now. Okay. We're pooping inside.
Man.
We're pooping inside.
Dude,
Okay, Da Vinci
that,
wouldn't even understand it. He wouldn't get it. He'd be like, "What? What's going on?"
and
Pooping inside.
number 5 is alive references, and the Discord server are always my favorite. Short circuit for the win.
Need more input.
He's actually we do like separator slides in all of our classes. So we chose all of the robots for the new AI hacking class, and Johnny 5 is one of our separator slides. No disassemble is the tagline.
Nice.
I kind of feel like Rocky, when I was watching Hail Mary, was kind of based on number 5.
It did feel a lot like that. Yeah. Yeah.
A little bit.
I can
All
feel
right.
it.
Let's roll the finger. Let's get this show on the road. We got so much to discuss. I'm excited.
So I'm gonna
Let's
Corey,
go.
you're this one. I'm
All
along
right.
for the ride.
Cool. Hello and welcome to Black Hills Information Security's Talking About News. It's June 15th, 2026, and you can't have Mythos. You can't have Fable. That you can't say fix this code to an AI or else you will be banned from Claude permanently.
Banned.
How's it going, everyone? How you feeling?
Good. Good.
Less productive.
Less productive?
Less
Why?
productive. Because I don't have access to Fable anymore.
Oh, I see.
My
Okay.
code is subpar
You
now.
guys are so
I
spoiled.
see.
I've been
Quick-
using haiku.
Quick, Bronwyn's like, I'm doing one-handed push-ups over here. Yeah. So quick round of introductions. We got Wade wading through logs, who's here. A lot of the presenters today are going to be presenting or talking or teaching at the upcoming Threat Hunting Summit this Wednesday. So check that out if you're interested. We have John Strand. He's legally required to be here so he doesn't get fined. We have Bronwyn, who is here to help us not use AI like an idiot. And we have Jason, who's keynoting the Threat Hunting Summit.
Hello.
It's exciting. And then we have Alex Balouve, Frenchman. Just kidding. All right, we got to get into the first. I mean, we got to start it off. Like it's Mythos, it's Fable, like it's government drama, it's billionaires calling government people calling who knows what. We're back to export grade ciphers. I mean, so okay, for those that have been living under a rock, here's what happened. Anthropic has been touting this fancy new AI model called Mythos that's really good at cybersecurity stuff. And last week they published what they're calling Fable 5, which is a basically, from their perspective, Mythos with more guardrails that are designed to prevent abuse. They thought it was ready to go live. And so they published it on June 9th. And then on Friday, June 12th, right? I think it was at the very end of the business day for me, so like 5 p.m.
Yeah.
They revoked Fable access. And the blog post where they revoke it is very much reads just like a hastily scrawled, like, we're upset about this. There's some really funny, like, little disses in there that I like, you know, like it says, the US government believes this. It's like that believes is carrying a lot of weight in that sentence. Basically, it's kind of a he said, she said scenario where the government is panicking about people having jailbreaks for Mythos or for Fable that are potentially abusable to do evil things. Lots of security researchers, including Krebs and Katie, I can't pronounce her last name, Musuris, basically came out and said these jailbreak bypasses are not like really avoidable. Like this isn't a real reason to take the model down. And that's kind of where we're at, is basically the debate between the US government, you know, some people from Amazon who wrote a blog post about it, the analysis of that blog post. It's a whole lot of like people and parties wrapped up in it. Who has takes on this?
Has it been confirmed that Amazon was kind of the precipitating event in contact?
Yes.
Yes, the some executive called the government, I guess. Like, I don't even know.
I think one of the articles I read said it was one of the heavy hitters in the
the CEO, I think, basically called someone at the government, was like, they be jailbreaking Mythos. I'm scared.
Well, let's be very clear here. A jailbreak is putting in a prompt that is meant to subvert the system, right, and make it do things it's not supposed to do. The way they jailbroke it, in air quotes, right, was they said, here, they first they asked it to do bad things, and it was like, no, the classifier shut them down pretty hard. And then they put bad code in real code and said, find these bugs. And then, of course, it found the exploits and it found the vulnerabilities, and then they were like, look, we jailbroke it, which is not jailbreaking. I am part of a world-renowned jailbreaking team. That's not actually what we do. So the word jailbreaking is being very much thrown around here.
Yes, and it's also the government who has probably a thin understanding.
So Jason, let me get this straight. What you're saying is one doesn't have to be a world-renowned jailbreaker to be able to comment on this, but luckily you are. Well, you have some expertise in this.
The whole thing is, I mean, so like I was saying before the show, I mean, like there was a jailbreak for Fable going around since like Tuesday, and it involved like a whole bunch of things that like we normally do in attacking AI systems, which is changing text into different forms of text and using like anti-refusal language, all this crazy stuff. But the thing is you would start using it, and then 2 responses into the turn of talking to AI, the classifier, which was completely separated from the model, would shut you down. Like you would only get 2 responses in. And that was the furthest anybody I saw got using it. So I didn't think that it was that dangerous. Like you could barely get anything going with the model.
Whoa,
even with
hold on.
some of the
So-
best stuff. It was crazy.
I worked for the government, and I asked it if it was dangerous, and it said it was dangerous, so I had to ban it. Sorry.
Yeah. I think I said hello, and because my memory file has that I'm a pen tester and like a
Yep.
AI hacker, like I mean, it was like, nope, not talking to you.
Same here.
It was just like it was like, nope, I don't want to speak to you.
But the stuff that you're
yeah.
talking about, but the stuff that you're talking about is almost completely impossible to completely reduce that risk to zero, right?
Oh yeah,
Correct.
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
Well,
basically
he's
the
right.
point.
Yeah.
This is this is all we were joking about it before the show, but this is 100% we're back to export grade ciphers. It's the same thing. It's like we're basically banning, and by the way, we forgot to even mention this, but the US government is claiming, oh, well, it's abuse by foreign nationals because they got wind that like someone who has ties to the, People's Republic of China had access to it or whatever.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, you have 2 choices, Anthropic. One, make sure everyone that uses it has like a passport, I guess. Like, I don't know. Or 2, just disable access to it. And obviously, it's kind of like the porn sites. It's like, if you can't verify they're over 18, you have to just block them. And there's no way to verify citizenship for every Claude user. So they're just going to block it. But yeah, it's back to the export grade. And every other model is vulnerable to the same quote unquote jailbreak. If you ask a model to fix vulnerabilities or fix this code and there's vulnerabilities in the code, it's going to do it. That's not a guardrail. I don't know. It's
But
I was surprised they knocked it off for corporate customers though too, right? Because like I guess that's still you could have citizens, right? But at least the corporate customers you can ratify as like they are citizens, right? The companies,
Yeah.
corporations.
But how many insider threat issues have we had lately, and how many times
many
are
multinational corporations.
people just
Yeah,
being pointed at as being whatever? So no, I get it. I do think that there's a lot of tempest in a teacup going on here. I think there's a lot of big cranky babies pointing fingers at each other. I don't think that the whole Fable rollback is a reasonable action, because I don't think reasonable people made those decisions. But hey,
Ron,
that's
what-
no, it's
You know what they
fine.
say? We
It's
know what they say.
Yeah.
They say the best time for government to start getting involved, helping regulate this would have been 5 years ago. The worst time is like last week at the end. Right?
Yeah,
why it would be
Oh,
one
no,
thing
yeah,
if they
on a
had any
Friday.
clue what this technology is about.
No, there's the key, right? And I almost, you talk about the tempest in the teacup, and we're kind of tap dancing around it. How much of this do you guys think, honestly, is just the politics of the situation?
100%,
Just
98%.
jump in.
It's like 90,
So-
90.
112%.
So
Yeah.
Anthropic is a company that refused to play ball, right? They
Kind
somewhat.
of.
They put
Yeah.
limitations on the ball they were willing to play.
They did not
also, by the way,
kowtow
I don't
sufficiently.
I don't know if this hit everyone's radar, but last week the CEO of Anthropic published this long blog post about how the government needs to regulate AI. Like I was like a whole like you. I read it. I read it, and I didn't realize I didn't know the CEO of Anthropic's name off the top of my head when I read it, and I was like, what person had like a venti coffee and just banged this out in a Starbucks? Like this is like not. It's kind of a little bit incoherent, but yeah, coming from the CEO of Anthropic, it's basically like AI is scary. We need to regulate it, but like so it's not like at least on a high level, the Anthropic has been making the noises of like trying to play ball, but it just
They
comes
have
down to
Well,
personal conflict. Yeah.
Well,
So I think there's
and,
posturing on two ends. So what John and others said with the government kind of coming in with the you didn't bend the knee, this all hitting kind of at market close. Make of that what you will. But I do also think, because I'm an Anthropic user, that Anthropic is seizing on this opportunity as well.
Great marketing.
Because like every time I log in for Anthropic, it's like, oh, by the way, Fable 5 isn't available. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's like, yeah, and then you do another thing. Hey, did you hear that Fable 5 isn't available? Yes, Anthropic, I know. And it's like, Anthropic isn't available.
I agree.
Fable 5 is not.
Well,
So
you can't. Yeah, you can't suppress it.
Once they can release it, everybody's going to rush to take a look at, okay, when they release something new, everybody's going to rush and take a look. AI companies need to be profitable. I have like this, wonderful website of like, is AI profitable.com, which is fantastic. But this is a strategy of like, not letting a crisis go to waste. There you go. We're going to tell everybody that they're coming down on us. They're going to tell everybody that, hey, we red teamed us. We're going to tell everybody that the other models also have the same thing, and hope that when there is a rollback that they can make money off of it.
I think it's a lot like the Monty Python face the peril thing right now. It's like, we're not going to let you face the peril, but I want to face the peril. And they're like, no, it's too perilous. You cannot face the peril, but I'd really, really like to face the peril. They're literally doing that type of marketing where telling people, oh, this is too dangerous. This is too dangerous. This is too dangerous. Because it's all, we're talking about it right now.
Yep.
Right? So I think it's amazing marketing. And I want to go back to something we talked about briefly. For those of you that were in it, I know, Wade, you got it ripped away from you far sooner than you would have liked. Not probably, but by the people you work with. But Jason, you were in there. There were people playing around with it. I don't see anybody online that was just like, oh my God, it was everything. The peril was fantastic.
Yeah, no, it wasn't when
Yeah.
it wasn't we were using it it obviously benchmarks really, really high on source assisted stuff, which is great, right? But not everything I do is source assisted. So a lot of our stuff is black box pen testing, black box AI red teaming, web application testing, internal stuff like that. And, it did not benchmark as good on those things. And we were using it for web testing for those couple days. And I think I eval'd it over a VDP program, a vulnerability disclosure program that I knew had vulnerabilities from a previous run using Opus 4.6. And that's our workhorse here is Opus 4.6, Codex 5.5, and then a couple of other self-hosted models. And we run them in a fleet, we call it. And so when we ran Mythos over that same scope, it missed like 2 criticals, but found 1 additional. So it didn't blow me away. And I was like, okay, it's cool that it found something new and it chained 2 what we call breadcrumbs together to find that thing. So that was cool. But it didn't find everything that the other ones found, and they're supposed to be inferior models. So, but I didn't benchmark it in the source code, like kind of bake off. That would have been cool. I just didn't have time yet. So,
but even
I agree with everything you just said. It lines up with everyone I've talked to and our own personal usage of AI. Anyway.
Well, there are reasons why I'm using Haiku as my default. And it's not just trying to be safe and secure and reduce the amount of water that's being wasted on all of these data centers. And I'm not going to say that isn't part of it, because it is. The cost, the ability to manage tokens effectively is a big reason. But the bigger reason is that even the so-called lower or lesser grade models do amazing work for 80 to 90% of the normal tasks that I do on a daily basis. Then when I need to go deeper, when I need those computes, that's when I switch to the higher end model, because that's efficient.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably worth mentioning. Go ahead, John. Sorry.
I was going to say that gets into like that. Bronwyn, there needs to be a workshop and a class on this. But
Yes.
that gets into everybody that's moving forward in the future. They've got to, and we're kind of stepping away from the Mythos thing here just right now, but more companies need to be looking at how can they be more cost efficient with the models that are available to them, right? And not always using the most high-end model. Thankfully, I've only had a couple of people come to me and they're like, everything I do, I require the absolute bleeding edge model. And we've had some conversations and we've talked them back from the ledge. But I agree 100% with you. You don't need the most cutting edge model all the time.
Well, also, I know we're stepping onto another article and there's so much more to talk about, but it's worth noting that Fable 5 was only going to be included in the plans for like another couple weeks. Yeah,
it was like 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, it's like
it
then you were on
not
usage
going to be
credits.
available.
Yeah, then you're on usage, basically API only billing, which
They
I
just
don't
give
know.
you a
I mean,
little hit, a little
Yeah.
hit up front, and then they're like, you come back
Little
later,
bit.
correct.
First taste is free, man.
That
So
model
our-
is definitely not worth going to the credits, honestly. Like playing around with it, like as everyone has said, is not worth that credit usage. Like I wouldn't want to pay. I would just do 4.8 right now. Like, anyways.
Dude, okay. But I don't know, like, obviously this is super specific, but like,
but
we don't know what level of.
Corey, I hate to interrupt you, but Cheddar just had a great quote. He said, "We pivoted from token maxing to export controls in less than 2 weeks."
Yeah.
Great quote. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, basically, if you are a Claude user and you look at your usage, how much it would cost you on the API, you will figure out really quickly that you can't afford to use just the API, which means you probably can't afford Mythos. And if you are using the API, you have to build in multi-model. Like, you can't just only use Opus for everything, or else you're just going to go bankrupt. You can burn through. Yeah.
Or you could have 6 Claude Max subscriptions, and then
Exactly. Yeah. The point is, like, the
These are-
subscriptions
These
are
just
everything.
tools, people. Come on.
No, this is
Don't
everything.
use Mjolnir when all you need to do is hammer in a tiny brad that big.
Yeah, but it feels really cool to do that with
Yeah.
the camera.
Yeah, no, you got to use
Yeah, it does.
You know what, Bronwyn? You're absolutely right. Let me refactor this Python code for you. All right. I'm just kidding. All right. Anyway, let's move on because there's a lot of other articles to talk about. So, what else happened last week? There was a pretty significant vulnerability in ServiceNow. That was kind of we can kind of just quick hit through it. I think this is one where if you're into the vulnerability responsible disclosure process, this is one of the most confusing ones I've ever seen. Essentially, like, ServiceNow messed up and created this hilariously bad API security bypass that just literally is like, oops, some of the code we created doesn't require authentication. There's a parameter you just, that's there now, that basically bypasses authentication.
requires authentication equals true or false. Isn't that right?
Right.
Oh,
Which is
false?
correct. Which is like literally, by the
What?
way, if we're talking about APIs that are built specifically to be exploited by an AI, requires authentication, true or false, any AI model is going to be like, maybe I should set that to false. But anyway,
it works if you set it to false.
so essentially this was a regression. They introduced this feature back in April. Then they silently fixed it in early June. Then people started talking about it on HackerOne or on bug bounty programs, and then also on Reddit. Then they claiming that it wasn't threat actors that picked it up. It was security researchers that picked it up and started exploiting it. And then someone published a blog about, like, here's the threat actors that are exploiting it. But then ServiceNow was like, no, it wasn't threat actors. It was security researchers. So basically, this is one of those where, like, they totally dropped the ball on the PR and the vulnerability disclosure thing, because I think they went from people being like, oh, that kind of sucks, like, I'm glad you guys handled it, to like, we don't trust you anymore in like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
for
the thing
no
that sucks-
reason.
I know the conversations that happen in the background. It's like, we got to keep this quiet, guys. Seriously, if we don't talk about it, the entire hacking community will not be able to figure this shit out. And what is the quote? Anytime you start thinking that way, it's time to lay down on the floor and reflect on your life choices, right? I honestly truly don't know what's going on in the background. It kind of feels like maybe some lawyers got involved that didn't understand this space, and they were taking bad advice. I'm not sure, but we see this every what, like 3 months or so. We see something very similar.
Oh, dude, it's every
been
week
a theme.
now.
It's been a
Yeah.
theme. Yeah. Like the
Yeah.
last couple of
First
security
principles.
researchers, right? The Microsoft guy who, what was,
Correct.
it's when we got a month until the Microsoft guy releases something that's going to be world
Earth shattering. World ending.
earth shattering.
I think this is just the current vibe of things, is like, number one, security researchers, previously unknown security researchers especially, are finding stuff that is hugely impactful and needs to be fixed. Also, they're finding a whole lot of garbage that doesn't need to be fixed. And all of it's being reported through the same channels, and every company is struggling to cope with that. This is not the first time we've talked about it on this show, of security researchers that publish basically bug reports to the companies that are affected, in addition to the actual responsible disclosure program that they're doing with the vendor. So then, like, basically on June 3rd or whatever, a bunch of security researchers submitted a bunch of vulnerability reports to a bunch of ServiceNow clients, and we're like, "Hey, you're vulnerable," and then that leads to this telephone game that just repeats back and forth.
The other thing that's going to happen with this, and I want to get Jason's take on this, because he's been in the game as long as I have. And anytime something like this happens and you see a vulnerability like this, it lights the fires. Like they're going to get absolutely crawled by every researcher that's out there, every attacker that's out there. And I think that a lot of companies that if their vulnerability disclosure program is this shitty right now, they better figure it out real quick, because I think the quality and the number of vulnerabilities across the board we've already seen a significant uptick. And I think it's about to get really bad. But Jason, I wanted to get your take on that too.
Yeah, I don't really want to fault the researcher, right? Like I
No.
very much live in the world of don't hate the player, hate the game when it comes to vulnerability research and trying to make money from your hard-earned bugs, right? Like there's definitely been times where I've been on the back end of, when I worked at BugCrowd, where a internet breaking bug comes out and the researcher tries to work directly with the company and they put them in a 9-month cycle of remediation. They can't talk about their research. They're also getting vastly underpaid for that bug.
T-shirts not good enough?
Yeah, t-shirts not good enough. Maybe some pizza or something, so
$1,347.
yeah. And it's not every company, right? There are better companies out there who do it right. And then so the researcher's only hope is to submit it to all the programs they know use that technology and try to what we call farm it out, right? And then the value add for those companies is like, oh, I get this vulnerability data before the vendor even gave it to me, and now maybe I can make a just in time patch or something like that, or put something in the cloud WAF, or to block this LFI or whatever. And they get bleeding edge vulnerability data, but then they yell at their vendor, and they're like, you've been working with this guy for 6 months and we haven't heard of this vulnerability, and it's being actively exploited by people in the bug bounty community. Like, so it's all kind of broken. But I don't hate the vulnerability researcher for that, right? They're just trying to make some money. Some of them do it pretty irresponsibly every once in a while. Like full blast, full disclosure, they haven't given the vendor, even like a week or something. Like, I'm not behind that, right? But like if you're being pulled around by a multi-billion-dollar corporation and they're like, yeah, we're not, like the way Microsoft handled things. I know a lot of people who work at Microsoft and they're my friends, but the way they handled vulnerability disclosure in the last year has been so long-tailed, and they've NA'd, like not applicable, like a ton of really good bugs I've seen from really good researchers. People either give up on their program or go full disclosure. That's kind of how it is right now. And it's just going to get worse, like John said, right? Like with the advent of AI, the one thing that, like us using it here, and I'm sure you guys using it there, what I'm finding is that we thought we were assessing a good part of the internet, and like, no, we were not. Like we are finding such basic bugs just because the scale that AI gets us to is it can look at every line of code, every line of JavaScript, every API call, where my monkey brain will like miss a piece or, something like that. And so, yeah, I mean, this year into next year is going to be crazy.
Oh, no, it's fine. We fixed it. There's no Mythos anymore. We fixed it. It's fine.
Yeah,
you don't need a Mythos for this stuff. You don't need a Mythos for this stuff. No.
Just a scale game. So Jason, I want to pull on that thread. So I was at a conference in England 2 weeks ago, whenever. And we were talking, there was a guy I was talking to in the hallway, and he was from a vendor, right? And we were talking about bug bounty programs and how there's a lot of chaos right now in the bug bounty world because of AI. And his take was kind of interesting. He said this is effectively going to kill all of these different vulnerability researchers that are using these bug bounty programs for a living. And his quote was, "It couldn't happen to a better group of guys." Like, he clearly hated the vulnerability research community. And I know that they can be, but here's, the things that we've been talking about today. I want you to kind of like pull on this a little bit more, because you kind of addressed it. If you're looking at all of these people that are out there with amazing deep skills at finding vulnerabilities, and you think that just because Mythos or whatever out there is finding more vulnerabilities, that they're now going to just like go, well, screw it, I guess all the skills I've developed over the past X number of years no
Oh
longer
no.
I'm now going to start digging holes and promptly put myself in them. I think you're underestimating the vulnerability community. And
Oh yeah,
is that
vastly.
kind of me interpreting what you said correctly? Because you
That
do
is
this for
that
a
is a
living.
separate line. Yeah, I do this for. I mean, I used to do it
And
for a living.
you're not like
Sure.
AI's rendering me useless. You
Oh
now
no,
have
no.
to call it a farm or a fleet of AI agents that are
Yeah.
basically replicating what you do. Can you talk more
Yeah.
about that as well?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the words I've been using is that the rich are going to get richer, right? So, every top rated bug bounty hunter I know right now, or vulnerability researcher, is just getting more and more gains because their methodology that they've been using that's been in their head and they probably haven't released anywhere except to directly to these companies, and hopefully that doesn't end up in a training data somewhere. That's not on the internet. It's not in the training data, right? And it's really hard to reason through. Sometimes it takes deep knowledge of some of the software and combining different types of bugs together. And so I just see all of my bug bounty friends who have integrated AI into their methodologies privately just winning more and more. It does hurt the intro bug bounty hunter, because it seems like at the lower end, and the easier bugs, the less complex bugs, are more often to be duplicates just right now because AI can find those pretty easily. And so, I don't have a solution to that honestly, but all of our methodologies, we've taught in classes, but they're, and some on YouTube and stuff like that. But some of our deep cut, tricks and tips and stuff like that that are prompted into our fleet, we've never released anywhere. And so we still find, really, really good stuff. And this is not like a single ODE in a single type of software. This is a methodology of, combining 3 JavaScript gadgets together to pop like a very complex XSS, or ways to exploit. We were talking about GraphQL on the pre-show, right? And we have a bunch of really good GraphQL primitives that we use to do, it's not SQL injection, but it's SQL commanding, and when we find certain functions from certain platforms. And so, yeah, it's like I said, the rich are going to get richer. I don't think they're going to go anywhere. I think you're already seeing a lot of those bug bounty hunters try to productize their knowledge. I didn't see it in the show notes, but there was a great blog on a guy who made $500,000 off of Google's vulnerability research program using AI and his personal methodology. And basically it was exposing these corporate API keys to uncover all these internal Google admin services. And he used AI to scale that knowledge and made, $500,000. And then subsequently, like over that time, also built a bot, a set of, AI agents that can do it automatically, and is now a company. I forget what he calls this company. And so we're going to see a lot more of these. I mean, we're doing that right now. I mean, we're taking all of our methodologies and putting them into autonomous prompts and our autonomous agents that use like prompt engineering, context engineering, harness engineering, and then we are finding some amazing stuff, like just crazy. Well, we had a pre-auth SSRF in an API that had been dormant for like 6 years, had been tested by every tier 1 pen testing vendor, web pen testing vendor. We found it last week, and it feels good. It feels good to find that stuff and root it out for the customer. And
I've been talking to a bunch of other pen testing consultancies, and a lot of them are now just sitting on ODAs, or they have a lot of other, undisclosed vulnerabilities. People are finding them like crazy. Before it used to be I could find one maybe once every 3 months, and now I've got like 10 of them, right? But the thing that we were talking about is that like you giving to these vendors, like they're handling the onslaught, right? Like if you're like, I got 50 vulnerabilities all in your product, it's all garbage, and most of the time these vulnerabilities are not like, you weren't getting paid to go find them from the organization, right? If you're bug hunting, right, or looking for this outside, then the company's like, all right, well, we'll get to it when we get to it, right? So I think the other side of this is that we're finding so many of our vulnerabilities so fast. How do organizations actually handle that influx and actually do something about it? Because before they weren't doing something great per se, not every organization. And now if they 10x what they got before, how do they deal with it, right? So then how do you actually make what they did and turn it into an actual securing of the product?
And I want to hop in. I have 2 things I want to say. First of all, on that exact point, that's why people are pushing back on the Fable 5 ban more so than, sad bug bounty hunters won't be able to bounty as hard. It's more because defenders
give it to the defenders.
The defenders need these powerful models just as badly as anyone else, maybe even more, because if you are the developer of software, like let's say you code a password manager for a living, you want a really good model to dig into that. You don't want to just be like, Haiku, go fix this bug in our production, used by hundreds of millions of users, right?
But
Like,
why not? If it can do the job.
I will say,
not a good idea.
I will comment on like one thing like how Jason was talking about, like more of the black box pen testing with agents. Like you give them prompts and stuff like that. But what I'm finding with defenders, right, it's very much like the rich are getting richer. The people who have all the documentation are just getting way better, right? If you have all the documentation on your network, all your log sources, all your detections, and your AI is just ramping up through that, like I like I hesitate to say this. It's like a cheat code, right? Like this video game has like the game of blue teaming has become a video game. I'm putting in these cheat codes. I'm getting kind of bored sometimes because the cheat codes are so good. And I'm like, what am I doing now? Like I have to go find another passion. It's like getting unlimited ammo, and I'm just able I don't need to tune that detection anymore and like have to make the PR. I can just push the agent to, because this tuning agent that I have knows exactly my environment and ready to go.
Okay, I want to pull the OG card here for a second, because this is not the first disruptive technology ride I've been through. First one was, believe it or not, desktop publishing. And the second one, oh my God, my lens is blurry. Sorry about that. The second one was web development when the web first came out. And in both instances, because I knew how to do page layout manually. Before desktop publishing came out, I actually worked for a textbook publication house, and we took the raw manuscript and we turned it into 4-color separated film that went out to the publisher. But again, this is back in the days before desktop publishing and all that. Because I know the rules of page layout, when desktop publishing came along, I was able to use it better than someone just starting off from scratch. And that information translated over when I got into web development. So what Wade was describing about how skilled professionals are taking these AIs and taking them to the next level, and what Jason was saying, this is not a surprise. If you already have domain knowledge, if you already have demonstrable skills in these areas, you're far better off to leverage this new tool to get those outstanding results than any vibe coder will ever be.
I'm really scared for next generational stuff where I feel like it's so easy nowadays that people are just going to lean on it too heavy, right? And like we said, it's a lot harder to get entry-level jobs right now because of all this. And a lot of people think that you're going to be able to automate them. And I am a clear believer thinking like we can, but there's a lot of corporate overlords who don't believe that we need to bring this next level up. But that next level also needs to actually learn not to trust the AI and not just to provide me slop all the time when I'm asking for something, which is another learning curve.
The way I think that we're headed with this, we talk about this a lot on a number of different podcasts and things, is I think that the entire security community is becoming more professional. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to be an engineer, right, you can't just jump right out of high school and become an engineer. I'm sure that people had the technical ability, they had the skills, they could absolutely do that. There's now a defined pathway where you're going to go to college, you're going to get a degree, you're going to pass an exam to get an EIT, and then you're going to work underneath like an engineer, and then you're going to take another test to get your principal engineer or PE to be able to do it. And that is the pathway that you see people like go from college to being able to engineer a bridge that if they screw up, someone dies. And I don't know if it's a fear, you can take it however you want, right? But what I think is going to happen to the industry is more that model where you're going to have companies that are going to make a very conscious decision about who they're hiring, who they're going to bring in as a mentee, and who they're going to put money, time, resources, and training into to get them to the point where they're an advanced enough security engineer that they can trust it with their AI models, that they can trust it with that's in their organization. And once again, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I do know we have some interns that we get that are absolutely light years ahead of any of the other interns that we look at. And I think that those are the people that are going to get snatched up and pulled into the industry. Now, where this gets problematic, I think, is in the security community. For years, we had people that maybe didn't have a traditional path, like they didn't go to college. Some of them don't even have high school degrees, and they had amazing technical skills. And a lot of those technical skills, the entire backs of the entire industry is built on some of the things that those people put into it. So I think that we are going to lose something, but I agree. Just this thing of just hiring thousands and thousands and thousands of people, sending them through training, and then hoping for the best that all of a sudden we're going to get some good security engineers. I do think those days are over.
I think I actually view it pretty oppositely, honestly, at least for our plans, right? We plan to grow our consultancy through juniors who get trained by the agents, actually. So our thing internally is called Armada.
But Jason, you've always been very selective about the juniors you bring in, right?
It's true. Yeah.
You're not bringing in just anybody that, got like a 3.8 in a computer science like program.
What are you talking about me? What?
And they're like, I will try real hard and I'm a quick learner. Like I know you, I know the people that gravitate.
I know Microsoft Word too, dude. Don't forget that. Anyway.
Need it.
Yeah.
It's always been with me less about technical skills. The technical skills can be taught most of the time. It's work ethic. For me, it's work ethic. And so that's what I'm looking for those interns, right? And like I am hoping to go the white hat model, which I don't know how many of you have been around in like the white hat days. The white hat basically had the Threat Research Center, which was a bunch of kids they took out of college who were interns and who ran their scanner and validated scanner results as their first tiptoe into cybersecurity and learned one domain at a time. So like cross-site scripting, they were a websec company. So cross-site scripting, SQL injection, LFI, all these things, right? And they learned it from the ground up by using the scanner, validating real world vulns that the scanner found, trying to figure out if it worked or not, and working with some seniors and doing some training. And then you would rotate those juniors, those interns who had a tremendous work ethic onto another vulnerability class until they had been through all 17 vulnerability classes and they were a senior at that point. And so now I think that there's a world where we can use agents to help train as well as seniors to help train and still bring in juniors who have tremendous work ethic to do really hardcore security work.
Oh, I totally agree.
Minor segue here. One of the things that I found out about yesterday as well is Anthropic is opening up a project specifically for people who are brand new to the workforce. And I've shared the link. It's the Claude Core. The idea is they're looking for interns that they want to teach advanced AI skills to and place them with nonprofit organizations. So
that's a cool program.
That's actually really interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I have a couple, responses. First of all, on Jason's kind of like strategy and honestly in general for thinking about like hiring, my personal opinion is right now bug bounty hunters are positioned with more leverage than they've ever had in the past. Bug bounty hunters are the people like, it's like goes back to the old Bill Gates, adage of like give a lazy engineer the job and it'll get done twice as fast for half as much money or whatever. I think that's kind of where we're at, where bug bounty hunters fell into AI because it's super efficient and helps save them time and money. But also now they're the experts when it comes to harness engineering, prompt engineering. They're the ones like now, if you're a company looking to beef up your security program and you want to hire someone who's really good at using AI, it's probably a bug bounty hunter, right? Because not to say that like the corporate security people got left in the dust, but a lot of corporations drag their feet on getting models adopted, getting approvals, getting GRC and all that stuff. Bug bounty hunters have been living this stuff since it came out and probably have some of the more mature workflows and methodologies that are also super efficient, because if you're paying your own bills, it's going to be more efficient. And I think like if you're a bug bounty hunter listening to this and you know how to do this stuff and you know how to use AI, you should go try to leverage that into a job where some company is trying to fix its vulnerabilities and discover them with AI because you know how to do it. That's my hot take, because I like, at least me on the pen testing side, I've always viewed it as kind of a separate skill set. Like there's bug bounty and there's pen test. But right now, those two skill sets are getting smashed together like 100%. Like I'm a bug bounty hunter now. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm finding bugs all over the place. And every other pen tester is having the same experience because you can like what used to be, I don't know how to decompile .NET and find a vulnerability in a C# app. Now that's like 5 minutes in a dream with Claude. So that's what we've done it 3 times in the last 2 weeks of like a client has source code disclosure of some type. We turn that into a vulnerability in an app that we've never analyzed before because AI can read the source code. So I think that's like, if you are a bug bounty hunter, use this opportunity. Maybe that changes over time. Like maybe, over time, pen testers and security folks are going to get better with the AI. But right now, I think probably the number one experts out there are going to be the bug bounty hunters. I could be wrong, but
I do also think the entire bug bounty system needs to modernize and be able to keep up with the amount of vulnerabilities that are coming in. I think it was already
they got to figure something out.
Oh yeah, for sure. But the point is, if you can go get a corporate job and leave the HackerOne's single submission type workflow behind, I feel like you should. But I don't know. Anyway,
a lot of the top ones are already at places where they're doing both, right? They don't want to give either up, so they're working at like a Tesla or or whatever, and they're already making their $500,000 a year bag plus bounties on the side, and they build it into their their contract saying that they can still moonlight and still do bug bounties and stuff like that. So that's still working like that. But I think John is right. Also, like we kind of moved away from this topic. It's like, what is the solution for companies that are just getting destroyed with submissions? Even if they're a good company, they want to reward people. They want to reward them fast, but they just don't have enough people. And it's got to be fight fire with fire and use automated AI triage tools backed by human operators, right? And you're either going to subscribe to those human operators through the platform you use for your bug bounty, or you're going to start to have to build, another group of operators internally at the organization who, sifts through all of that. And you're going to need somebody to build that system too. So there's like different jobs that are going to pop up inside of vulnerability management, which both bug bounty and, vulnerability disclosure is part of. And there'll be like AI engineering jobs. And so I tell everyone I know, no matter what part of security they're in, learn this stuff, learn how to do some AI engineering, learn what a harness is, learn how it works, like learn what agents are, learn how to prompt agents, learn how to make skills. And like, if you can do some of that, you might be that person at that organization who's invaluable in building, the vulnerability management workflow, that auto triages bug bounty stuff and forwards the emails to the right people and connects them to assets and ServiceNow and like all this stuff. That person is so never out of a job. No matter what AI does, there's going to be the integrators who put all this stuff together. And that's the person you want to be, honestly. So.
All right, let's do some. Go ahead, Wade.
I was gonna say that's what I found like as a detection engineer, right? I kind of like had this epiphany where it almost felt like my job's going away, where it's like I'm becoming a knowledge shepherd or like a data shepherd, where how do I best connect the AI to things in the most secure way and provide it the knowledge it does to become a detection engineer. Which little sad.
Well, that's called harness engineering, I guess.
Yeah,
exactly.
Much.
But I mean, that's companies are asking like, what do we do? And I'm just like, use AI safely and in a way that matches your goals. Like that's basically all you can do. There's no silver bullet, just like there never has been. There's no like, oh, you just have to buy this tool and it does it for you. Like, no, that's not a thing.
I'm sure you guys do this too. But one of our assessments is basically we onboard from the client and we walk through what they do day to day, and we're like, cool, you could use AI for this. Cool, you could use AI for this too. Cool, you can use AI. And then here's the one guy who knows AI enough on your team to run all this, and then the other people need to be trained up, and here's how you train them up. And then they're like 20% more effective on their SOC or detection engineering or whatever. And I'm not saying that it like replaces everybody, but like corporations are like super far behind, at least in our experience. Like you walk in there and they're barely getting access to Copilot, which is like, it's not a bad model, but it's also not a good model. And, its agentic capabilities are, they're kind of on the lower tier. And so, everyone's still catching up. Like everyone on this call who's talking about AI, now that I've listened to everyone's kind of like where they are, like you don't remember it when you're talking about this stuff, but you're like in the top 8th percentile of like engineers working with this tech right now. The rest of the world is still catching up. Like, you ask anybody out on the street about like what Claude code is, and they're like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
I'll double down on that. I saw someone else speak about that, and they were just like, you know how slow businesses operate?
Yeah.
Right? Like, do you think that they're just like rolling this out tomorrow? I mean, sure, there are some.
There are some, but not fast.
That's just your point. I agree.
And that gets into something we've talked about on the show before. Like we're moving the bottlenecks, right? The one that I keep hearing and I like rephrasing is like, it literally, if a company could develop code 1,000 times faster, it doesn't mean that they're going to be developing 1,000 times faster the code on the ass end. You still have to go through QC, QA. You got a requirements driver, the security stuff. You have a lot that you have to do. And all of that work still has to be there, right? And it's not like it's all like end-to-end AI and everything just pops out super quick. You're always going to have that bottleneck that's going to get moved someplace.
And if you don't, you're going to have just impending disaster. So,
okay, so that's a whole nother part of it for sure.
Yeah, let's run through some quick hits real quick. We talked about the ServiceNow thing. There was an Oracle 0 day
on the ServiceNow thing. One thing before we move on from the ServiceNow thing. If any of you pen testers out there, because I know a lot of your audience pen testers. So from our methodology, I'll just give it up. ServiceNow widgets have individually scoped authorization. So when you get a pen test, it's on the ServiceNow platform, and it's a self-hosted version, either the government version or somebody else is self-hosting it. Even some of the cloud versions that don't get upgraded quick enough, look at the service widgets. And if they have the same access control as the regular API, we have been able to wreck some of these ServiceNow implementations. They're using their service widgets where they had no auth applied to them, and we were able to pull out customer data from the service widgets. So that's just a quick tip for the pen testers out there.
Nice. Yeah. And like John said, the fires have been lit.
The fires.
The writing is on the wall. The smoke is in the air. You know that this regression probably wasn't the only mistake this development team made in the last 6 months.
I'm going to call it the Adobe effect. Like, I go back to the first company I realized this was Adobe, and people found all those vulnerabilities and all the different compression algorithms and things that it was using. And it was like every security researcher. I remember I was at DEF CON and somebody was like, oh, I got a 0 day for Adobe. And the other guy that I was with was a black badge person. And he was like, who doesn't?
I saw Ralph with the Atreides shirt on, and I remember Val Smith and Chris Gates did it was like an LFI in the login page of Cold Fusion at one point. And, like, there was an LFI that you could just like pre-auth, like break the whole thing. It was amazing. Like, those are the days.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we went from what's a print spooler to like 18,000 print spooler vulnerabilities in like a month. It was like, print spooler, what's that? Here's 10 0 days. Oops.
I can't believe they didn't fix it fast enough.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, so some other quick hits. There was the SHINYHUNTERS hit 100 plus universities with an Oracle 0 day. This is basically the same story we just talked about with ServiceNow. It's just Oracle instead of ServiceNow.
Yeah, but like, we have a lot less sympathy for Oracle than we do at ServiceNow. So.
That's correct. Yeah, yeah. There's a CVSS.
We have CVSS now.
There's a CVSS 9.8, 68% of victims, unauthenticated RCE, classic. There's supply chain stuff. There's some pretty brutal stuff happening in the Arch. If you're an Arch Linux person,
the Arch thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, again, if you're using Arch Linux, it is its own supply chain risk. It breaks itself on like no security stuff. It just breaks itself for functionality reasons. But
it's so you learn.
It's so you learn. Yeah, basically, this is kind of a unique one. But essentially, in Arch, there's these Arch user-maintained repositories, and they essentially, unfortunately, have a setting or a configuration that if they're unused, they can be taken over by someone. And this week or last week, someone decided to start taking them over and putting Rust info stealers in them. I'm guessing the total affected users is.
Taste.
I was about to say they must be a fan of the podcast if they're using Rust.
Before the AI wave, I think that this would have been like one of the leading stories. The idea of what is it?
I don't know. I mean, dude, at the end of the day, how many users does this affect? 3 people with Chromebooks that cost $40 each?
What? Chromebook?
100 packages, guys.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but the package is like Ted's weather machine or something, and it's like a curses interface for some API that doesn't exist. I mean, I don't know.
Wasn't this like a third-party package management?
Correct. It's
Yeah.
it's a third-party user-maintained package for Arch.
Yeah.
So it's like
Well,
the
that was when you
lowest
first read it.
impact.
Yeah, it's not like you're like what is Arch's update?
AUR. Yeah.
AUR, yeah. It's not like you're typing AUR and automatically you're getting pwned, right? So
Correct. That's right. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a very unique attack. It's also if you're a maintainer of an open source project of any kind, you need to make sure that project's protected in some way, shape, or form. The email can't be registered. The domain can't be registered. Or in this case, that you don't just have random permissions that allow takeovers.
now, if you did this for Brew, we'd all be screwed.
Yeah, but we need to look at this once again. This is a harbinger, right? We're seeing npm package vulnerabilities that are exploits coming in supply chain. This is just another click in the wheel. Once again, I think if you look at this just exclusively through the lens of Arch, it's kind of funny. But if you start looking at this in the grander scheme of things, of these larger open source ecosystems, like you said, with multiple contributors, this actually is starting to get a little bit scary. And there's a bunch of companies that are starting to ask questions. Like they're starting to seriously think about, before we roll out patches, do we want to let this sit for a couple of months to make sure that there's not vulnerabilities that are hitting production mainline code? And we're going right back to 2005 again, where people are like, let's take all of our patches, sit on them for 3 months, make sure nothing bad happened, and then roll them in. And that is a bad call. So like I said, if it's just Arch, yes, it's not that interesting. But if you look at this again, like Mythos and everything else, this is the universe we're moving into. And I don't think most companies are ready for it at all.
Well, the supply chain risk, if we're talking if we're talking actionable supply chain stuff you can do now that most companies aren't covering, the supply chain risk is through AI installing MCPs, packages, or other things that the user didn't necessarily know about or consent to.
Yeah, you're
That's
talking
the
about
bigger
Merkle, right?
risk. Yeah.
So what do you guys just take, right? Always turn on auto update because AI vulnerabilities are creating vulnerabilities really fast, or always turn it off because supply chain and they're going to get me in that new update, right?
I'm going to hit you with here's what you should actually do. It's the same thing as, do I use dangerously skip permissions or YOLO mode, or do I manually approve every prompt? The answer is you should use a classification system where, for example, with patches, you can have a system that runs a patch, runs a regression, does whatever you want to do, and make sure that it doesn't have supply chain concerns before you apply it. So basically the answer is AI.
But that's hard.
I'm interested.
My problem with AI, you're going to solve it with AI. Got it.
I'm interested for first party packages and like imports and stuff like that. Like we recently refactored our assumed reach to add the Merkle style attack, where you take over like a regular developer's account and they have access to Claude code with an MCP. What can they exfiltrate from that? And then from the external perspective on our red teams, we include now dependency hijacking. And so we'll go through all the JavaScript of every site on the internet that customer owns to find first party stuff that we can use with dependency confusion. And in the last 2 red teams, we have found first party packages that were the customers that were never referenced. And then we asked them to go audit internally. If we register this on NPM, will is your setup set up to like download and import from local or from external? And it was set up to basically pull from external. So we could have backdoored, an NPM package of their first party code. Are you guys, seeing that in red team stuff? Are you guys going there at all?
I would say it's very early phases for us. We are not, I don't think we're as mature as you guys, but definitely what we are doing is making sure our clients have, like, basically don't allow all MCPs. Like that's honestly the biggest checkbox, is like an MCP is a C2 server. Like
it is
functional for all intents and purposes. If you allow your users to access Claude coworker code and you allow unrestricted MCP installs, I can get code execution on your workstations. I guarantee you.
The thing is, it's not hard to host one on your own server or host one on like the local MCPs. Like I've seen enough bypasses in order.
Yeah, well,
like
so
living off the AI stuff is like starting to freak me out, to tell you the truth.
Yes, living off AI. Yes. Yeah. As far as emulating supply chain attacks, I mean, that's an awesome. Like I'm literally taking notes. I'm going to go do that right after this. But no, I would say it should.
JavaScript. We find them most in like deeply embedded JavaScript files and chunks that we never thought we would find them in, and they're referenced somewhere in there. Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. Um, so on a more depressing note, Flock is going to add apparently Bluetooth tracking to their license plate reader cameras that they have, which is
not
Oh.
just
a huge
Bluetooth.
it's a huge
Yeah.
bummer because I was looking.
Like, how can we piss people off more?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I've been doing a certain amount of work in looking at the flock devices. Really, what can be done about this? I took a half moment to be like, well, can't we just do like the Bluetooth spam and fill up their registers? And no, that's not going to work. But was one of the things that I thought about with my Bluetooth usage, and an angle that I think would have some teeth is going to be Bluetooth devices such as this, like hearing aids. But now you go from surveillance is bad to going to now you have an organization that is forcibly disclosing medical conditions of disabled Americans without consent and without warrant. Like you have ADA violations, you have Fourth Amendment violations. Like I still believe in like that you can, and you have these medical manufacturer companies that they have money. They can sit there and say, you will not use our devices for government surveillance in order to track where people are going, what they're doing, and you're forcibly disclosing these things. There's all sorts of violations around this. All sorts of individuals out there with medical devices. Are those being used to correlate to an individual?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that, if anybody that's, a fan of the EFF or EFF is listening in, that's something that would have traction and have some teeth, because that can be documentable harm.
Yeah, I mean, this is real bad. Like, obviously, the Flock stuff, if you aren't familiar, it's essentially mass surveillance and very thin security. The kind of additional feature that they're talking about here in this 404 media article is basically the ability to track and cluster Bluetooth devices, which if you're thinking, oh, well, my iPhone randomizes its Bluetooth address. Unfortunately, your AirPods don't, your watch doesn't, your hearing aids don't, your like all the other devices you have don't randomize their Bluetooth addresses. And so you can be also your car has Bluetooth, by the way. Essentially, Bluetooth is very ripe for this kind of surveillance, unfortunately.
Well, it's not even just Bluetooth devices. They're also tagging RFID tags for key cards and pet microchips, and they're also tracking
tire pressure monitors,
Wi-Fi sources. So now with all of the smart cars, they bleed both Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Yeah. So it's so much more than just the Bluetooth, and the potential for detailed profiling, detailed tracking, the invasion of privacy is insane.
Well, and all the basically the misuse. Like I'm keeping track of just in my state, like the number of instances to where it's like yet another case where somebody's been gets
arrested for looking up their ex,
or looking up their ex, and this is just still going to become a problem. I think it grows out of kind of that sidestep, and I saw this with some of the OSINT work that I did before. Is that well, law enforcement can't do these types of lookups, but they can ask an OSINT organization to put these things together and then get it from that organization as kind of an end around. I think same type of thing here. Yeah. You can't directly surveil people, but this is law enforcement's like dream to have this type of information. But they go, well, we're not collecting it. We have a private company that's collecting it, and we just have this contract partnership with them.
So we're basically advocating right now for adding Bluetooth to all medical devices.
Well, this is, again, it's that same catch-22. I love the shinies, but I hate it. My grandmother had a defibrillator pacemaker, and the settings were adjusted using Bluetooth. And I cringe when I think about the possibility that because medical organizations suck so badly at basic security features, what if somebody hacked her pacer? I mean, she could be murdered by somebody hacking her pacer in front of me, and I would be powerless to do anything other than provide CPR.
So basically, the medical companies have now become the villains have become our best advocate for why this shouldn't be a thing, essentially.
On a lighter note, I didn't realize that it was pacemaker until I was like well into my 20s, and I thought it was pacemaker and that it was making something to put into you. Like,
just making paste
No,
in your
you're
heart.
not.
I don't know.
Sorry, Will. Go find your own source for white glue paste.
Yeah.
It's so funny. One of my first pen test jobs was a company, and one of their clients was a life alert type vendor, and so we were doing web testing, and I didn't really have experience yet with how bad kind of the security spend and in like the medical industry was, like how they just don't get any security support. Sometimes there's not even security teams associated with these companies. But I found like this API, and I was like, cool, well, my job is to figure out like how this API works. So I'm like fuzzing this API, and I get a call from the customer, and they're like, hey, this isn't supposed to happen, but basically every pager in the greater Los Angeles area for elderly people said that they all fell down at one time. Is this you? And I was like, well, let's figure it out, because I found this really cool API that shouldn't be on the internet with no authentication.
Jason, what's the name of the API? Fall down.
No,
Wires.
it didn't have anything that I would have recognized as like set off all of the alert pendants.
Why is that a function?
I see this.
I don't know.
Down equals true. Let's fuzz.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's what happens sometimes. So.
It does.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. Jason, you're keynoting the summit coming up this Wednesday.
Yes, correct.
Wade, you're presenting too, aren't you?
I'm teaching next week. This is to be the first time I'm teaching the CTI course 2 days online. Nice. So that'll be really fun.
Fantastic. And Jason, take a couple of minutes and talk about your company and your training as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So my company is Arcanum Information Security. We do kind of the same things. We do pen testing, we do offensive security services, but right now we're very deep into the AI world and testing AI applications. So your company, plops in AI features or a chatbot onto, your application. We have built a methodology to test that, and we do a lot of that right now. So what my talk is at the Threat Hunting Summit is basically the inverse of my attacking AI course. And so I go through all of the things that basically make me angry when customers do them right on all of our AI pen tests, we call them. So it's things like guardrails, open source guardrails, open source classifiers, model-based routing, threat hunting through inference logs rather than regular logs. And so we're going to talk a little bit about all those things and a whole bunch of musings and case studies where we've gotten stymied and stuff like that. And I think it'll be helpful for defenders to know what options they have available for them with all these new AI things that they're having to turn on because their CEO says turn on AI or whatever. So yeah,
that's awesome. It basically addresses what we were talking about half the episode.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean we're going to do our best. So.
On. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.